I can't. Let's see. Hang on. Oh, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Now I hear you.
I love how the background interacts with what you're doing. Are you just gonna keep that in your arm, like kind of disappears occasionally?
That's so stupid. Yeah, what a cool virtual background.
That's the kind of background that, like, some guy, he's just a technician. There's no artistry. He's like, let me find the stupidest stock picture.
Wait, can I just use any background?
You should do it. Yeah, try it. It's like Wayne's World. There's that scene in Wayne's World. Try different backgrounds. Let's see.
Dude, this is so bad. Oh, I can do anything. Let's see. Sick.
I love the vibe of this pink guy. He's just totally unimpressed with Bane. Who is
Let's see.
Whoa! Is that when you had like? Is that when you had illness? Oh yeah, man!
It's pretty bad, right?
You look like a witch. You look like. Yeah. See, you kept your sense of humor about it too. That's like we talked about. It's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's even. I gotta change that. That's horrible. How do I get rid of that? Okay.
Yeah, that would just.
Right,
flee.
I'm going back to the Golden Gate. No, wait. We're just going to go with a regular background because that's a really stupid feature of this. Yeah, I mean, that was an epically uncomfortable time. But, if you can't keep your sense of humor, then what? People because I had shingles. Let's see if this is any better. I had shingles for yeah, there we go. It's less. You get less of that light. I had shingles for Are we in the podcast? Are we in podcast land?
Well, let's introduce everybody. Not that they've seen that. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm Max. I'm Max Fisher. This is FilthCast or something. This is Ben. This is Ben Forg of the Absurd.
Yep.
Dude, there was one thing I told you about this new ad against Biden that Trump did. Can I show it to you? Can I show it to you right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you show it to me somehow?
I can. You can share the screen. It's like it's a whole thing. Yeah. So here we go.
I'm ready to go.
This is a crisis.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia.
Biden's son inked a $1 billion deal with a subsidiary of the Bank of China.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They're not bad folks.
Since the outbreak, the Communist Party has been mobilizing overseas organizations to buy local supplies and send them to China.
It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper. What a beautiful history we wrote together. Banning all travel will not stop it.
The president is right. The travel restriction on China, as every public health official we've talked to said, bought the country time.
That was a very smart move right there.
Hysterical xenophobia. Jeremiah, xenophobia. I complimented him on dealing with China. I'm not going nuts.
I'm not going nuts.
Fucking Jesus.
Isn't that brutal?
That's brutal. Also, can someone in Joe Biden's camp, please, for the love of God, show some mercy and take that guy out of the race? Oh my God. Yeah, those ads are going to keep happening, and they're going to, that almost hurts to watch because you're just like, Jesus Christ. Of course, he's made himself so vulnerable to attacks. And Trump is a hound dog who's never going to stop.
Yeah. Now he has, before, the thing is, one thing about the ads I've seen now and the way it's actually, he's got really, really talented people working for him now. And I have a feeling that, yeah, because like before it was like really just he had all this like kind of paid ad time or just thing where they broadcast his speeches. He very much did it kind of on his own. Now he has this whole like apparatus where he knows exactly where to push, but he has all these like really smart, like savvy political people beneath him now. Because he has a bigger war chest than anybody's ever had. I think he's raised like $350 million for his re-election campain, which at this point in the race is more than anybody's ever had. I don't know what he's up to now, but that was 6 months ago. It was already like he had already like surpassed what Hillary had like for the entire election or something.
Okay. Yeah, you. KT.
All right.
Back again?
I am back. I got a kombucha I needed. Speaking of cults, I heard, I don't know if it's this guy or someone else, that the guy, and this is so on brand, like, I heard this guy started a cult. Like, there was some weird sex kombucha cult. Like, this has started. I could be getting this mixed with a bunch of other stories, but it was like this ex-TV star, like he was like some TV actor from the 80s as a child, and then started like him and his harem like started making kombucha, and it got successful, and the cult got bigger, and and then like there's something like that. But it's just honestly, I think a lot of what progressives are doing, as I've said this like a number of times recently, it's like if you actually go down to it, there actually isn't much there. It's just sort of just dissolving norms and just reverting to, hey man, just do it. It's fun. It's like, because now you've got cults, you've got like weird orgies and like just super libertine like stuff, which I mean on some level like I get, obviously, but like, but it's just like when people try to be sophisticated about it, it's like people didn't come up with society's rules for like, because they were just dumbasses. Like nobody just decided one day, like, no, you can't put that there with that person. Yeah. Like that took a lot of willpower. People, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Well, no, I mean, it's turtles all the way down is kind of what it seems like. It's just, there's no there, I guess. It you know, people, the cult of the left, you know, seems to be just repeating and regurgitating whatever they heard, and it's like it doesn't start anywhere. It's like it doesn't come from anywhere. It's nobody's ideology, and this is the kind of thing that makes me, maybe it's because I've been locked down for a month and doing lots of drugs, or maybe, you know, I'm paranoid or whatever, but it makes me think, is this a fucking conspiracy? You know, now China has bombed the entire world, nuked the world, more like it. I mean, it makes me think, like, what is the source of, how could you possibly be, I can't even wrap my head around how you could possibly be arguing about racism and trying to point to supposed structural racism at a time when there's actual issues. It's like, yeah, before the pandemic, we could all argue about fucking genders and blah, 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 because nothing is happening. It's lollipops. The economy's humming away, you know, like, great. But now this is an unprecedented crisis with no end in sight. And we're arguing about whether the term China virus is racist. It's like, how? Like, and how do you expect me to not at least have the fleeting thought that China's propaganda arm is extremely strong and a bunch of idiots in America are falling for it and parroting exactly what they want them to say?
Well, that's definitely happening to a point.
Exactly.
Real quick, can you turn your thing this way if you can? Because you're like up and down. We're going to get more. There it is. Much better. Now we can see it's more efficient.
Nice.
There's more image. Well, first of all, we know that, like, for example, Dude, there's so much to say about this, but
Trying to figure this out. I think I got it.
right now, I mean, it appears, because, I mean, there isn't, these are just anecdotes, but this is exactly what China kind of would do, and they're doing this on various levels. I don't know why it wouldn't be the case that they're doing this in the media, because there are a lot of people, and this is verifiable, that are being paid by China in one way or the other, because again, Chinese business or whatever, it's all the government. It's all the government. They're top down. It's authoritarian. Like, so
Right.
we know that there are people in academia, for example, who have been paid to
That
the
Harvard
research
professor or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that that's happening. We know that, like, it's been said that Goldman Sachs is like they have so much just Chinese money invested, like going in and investing in all their money is in our politics.
Yeah.
It's everywhere around us. There are institutes in our universities that are funded by the Chinese government. And on some level, I try to look at this from both sides, which is I actually think it's kind of cool in one sense that we're getting intermingled with China. I've talked about potentially going to like a graduate program where you go to Berlin, you go to New York, and then you go to China. Like I'm sort of a cosmopolitan, you too, I'm sort of a cosmopolitan type cat. Like I enjoy all that. I want to have that contact.
Right.
But it's like I can't, but the New York Times cannot become overrun with Chinese propaganda. And the thing is, if you're willing to take the money, you know, it's entirely viable, especially right now when individuals who are doing that, they need that money. The New York Times needs the money. I mean, it makes sense. They have a financial stake in going along with all of that. So if I could have, if I could get paid from one way or the other through some Chinese company, which is technically not the state, I'm just doing business with China, right? It's like, and then all you have to do is like say these certain things, or just have sources from China that you talk to, and they say, well, that isn't really what's going on. What's going on here is xenophobia and stuff like that. And they just choose to believe that conveniently and report it. Like, how could that not be going on? If you have a country that's as smart as China, that knows that America is for sale, dude. Like, if you're gonna go into the New York Times where there are people that are making $100,000 a year, but they have the prestige of people who are making tens of millions or billions of dollars a year. Yeah. I've heard this before. There's a prestige gap to where the journalists who work at these places, the circles that they travel in are elite. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're super, super elite, and it's like they're shaping thought. They're doing all of this different stuff. So the thing is, you would have an incentive. You know, they want to get their kids into the right schools. They have to kind of keep up with the Joneses, and they can because they have that prestige. The thing is getting the money. So if there is some incentive to get paid in order to do this stuff, and there's every reason to do it, of course people are going to do it. Yeah. But I think it's important I think our trust in institutions needs to be like modified. There are certain things that are great about a place like the New York Times, but you also have to like realize how much is at stake and how much incentive there is for that information to be manipulated. You know?
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, you know, it's interesting. It's like I was saying before about, you know, there's not a Walter Cronkite or a figure who everybody looks for and Walter said it, so you know that's the story now. There is a whole swath of people on both sides of the country who anything that's said by the other side, they just disregard offhand, no questions asked. And that's extremely dangerous. On the other hand, it's good to have nuanced journalism and media reporting and stuff like that. But then something like this happens, and if no one can trust each other, then, you know, I mean, it's I guess it goes beyond that, because it's not just no one can trust each other. No one's willing to give anybody the benefit of the doubt. You know, if they find out, I mean, I've talked to people all the time. I'll say something positive about Trump, and then they will not talk to me again, or they'll just doubt everything I say. Or, oh yeah, well, but you know, are a Trump supporter. I'm like, what the okay.
Yeah, what is,
even if I was.
Yeah, like what is this thing that gets, I guess everybody does it to a degree. There's this thing that gets tapped into. It's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
People, or goes back to, these really basic things. I think we kind of go back to square one to some point. It's like, okay, so there are people that you can listen to and trust, and then there are bad people who are just stupid and ignorant, and you can't listen to them. And you can dismiss everything that they say, and they're bad. So there's good, trustworthy people and bad, shitty people. And the thing is, we see this tribal, I do think it's worse on the left, but you see it everywhere, because there are definitely, it's strange how many times I hear people on the left describe, you know, Trump people or the right, and they say the exact thing that they are. But I wonder the extent to which I ask myself, I wonder the extent to which both things are true. And I think to a large degree they are. I think that in many respects, that's what everybody does, because you kind of have to do that in order to filter through information. I think the problem lies where I did an experiment. I was like, how do I know if I'm kind of the credulous one, if I'm the boob, I'm the one who doesn't understand, I'm the one who's being manipulated.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been asking myself this for a long time. This was even in coming up on the election. I remember like going to these sort of fringe sites. I think I've said this on here before, but like going to like, I would check out like Breitbart and all this sort of stuff, and like the Intercept, whatever. And for whatever reason, the story they were telling just held together more. Not about everything. I mean, there was definitely shit on Breitbart that was ridiculous. Yeah, it's garbage. But there were like these things, like the good reporting there, where I was just like, why does that make more sense? How come if you read these papers every day and you cross-reference them, how come I notice these huge lies and distortions? And there are people, and this is what I ultimately, after years of like going through this, concluded. I know a lot of people who only believe, the mainstream stuff. I know people who will always go with like the super like pro-Trump way of doing things. Is sort of in the Sean Hannity mold. He's Rachel Maddow basically. Although he did have some great moments after the election. Some of his reporting on election meddling or in the FBI and Comey, and some of that was actually really good. But it's like the only time I've like become a fan of him for a time. Yeah. But one thing I noticed is that without fail, I've yet to find an exception to this rule. People who consume both types of media, both establishment and anti-establishment, left and right, mainstream, whatever, the people who actually survey the landscape, none of them buy the mainstream media line. And none of them are mainstream Democrats. Yep. None of them. Yeah. I meet people that are on the kind of anti-establishment left. That's why I think there's a reason that you and I voted for Sanders in the primary last time. Right. There's still, and I think that you're starting to see in this crisis, I think you're going to see even more people from the Sanders camp go over to Trump this time.
100%. 100%. They're so consistently bad and have been for so long that they put me in a position to be like, well, I guess I'll vote for Trump. Like, I think Trump is an abhorrent, non-ideal president. Like, non-ideal. Again, maybe he's an anti-hero. Maybe he's the guy we need to break through the glass and just smash things up. There's an argument for that. But ideally, would I have ever thought of voting for Donald Trump? No, not in a million goddamn years.
I used to hate Donald Trump. Like when he was an acceptable person who people like, there were people that were into him. And the first time I heard somebody say, Donald Trump, once I found out I was just like, oh, I can't stand that guy.
Right,
like
right. I saw some clips on like The Apprentice, and I'm just like, ugh, God, I don't
This
like
guy,
this
yeah, dude, he is so not my type of guy. He's so not. But the crazy thing is Donald Trump, or really, I won't even say, because I don't think I could ever be truly pro Trump. I'm pro the Trump phenomenon, and I may have to vote for him in order to perpetuate that.
Well, not even that. You may have to vote for him because
I probably will.
Otherwise, you'll vote for a walking corpse that is Joe Biden.
Yeah. The only options are I'm voting for him or I'm staying home. And in all likelihood,
Exactly.
I feel like it's sort of a cop-out if I stay home at this point.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think make a choice and vote. And you know what? If you're voting for okay. I'm on a podcast, by the way, just in case you decide to get naked.
That's welcome on the podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Nudity is allowed on YouTube. Is it? I actually don't know.
I don't think so.
Oh, well, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, there's I think that staying at home would be kind of a tacit vote for Joe Biden in a way. Yes. And I think that you have an obligation as an American to prevent Joe Biden from becoming president and to prevent the Democrats from having any more fucking power. Fuck it. Let the Republicans fight amongst themselves about the best way to be a stupid Republican and kick the Democrats the fuck off the hill. You know, just the liberals, the new liberals can go just be the progressive wing of the Republican Party, split off, and then become the new Democrats or whatever. Democrats are fucking dead. They're done.
Yeah.
Go ahead. How could our generation, how could we ever forgive them? Like, I mean, seriously, it's because even when Yang and Tulsi were in there, who would have been my choices for, you know, I still have paused voting for either one of them for president because then you're voting for the Democratic Party as well. And even they couldn't escape a little bit of kowtowing to the insane fucking retards on the left. Well, like, yeah, and that's what scares me, man. It's that the party is so fucking bad. Yeah.
I guess you can make the argument that, I mean, and I agree. I mean, it's weird. It's like, again, this mirrors what a lot of people say, but it's like, people talk about like, oh, so super far right and stuff like, I think the Republican Party has been substantially improved in the past few years.
I agree.
You have actual like kind of populist sort of people in there and now you're starting to see, you know, it's amazing because I think that a lot of people who just like call balls and strikes based on the issues, they can see the unity between the populist, say the new right and the new left or whatever it is. And I think that there's a certain amount of noise. There are these people that there's the Anna Kasparians of the world who are sort of people whose whole things is they're kind of policing a sensibility and promoting people in the tribe. Like Kasparian is one of these people, if she sees you tweeting a Daily Wire article or just doing anything, it's like playing cooties. It's like if it's been touched by these people, therefore it can be dismissed and you just ignore it. It's just these information feedback loop, people not knowing that it's like, you two are in a feedback loop. And the thing is, if you don't like go through the discomfort of understanding what they believe, and and like there's plenty of stuff on, you know, that I disagree with on that stuff, but there's also key information in there that you need in order to have perspective on the stuff on your current point of view. And almost without fail, the people who are the really hardcore pro-Trump, just like the sort of weird culty Trump people, and then like the woke left, they don't do that. And I think that those are the people that are actually preventing actual policy changes. Their insistence on purity is that there is actually flies, and their dedication to a tribe is actually flying in the face of actually implementing positive policy, and their notions of their sense of good and evil and clean and unclean and like all this sort of stuff factors into it so much that what they don't seem to understand is in trying to be pure and trying to be super idealistic.
Yeah.
In a strange way, by not allowing there to be this unity amongst the sort of like common cause populist types who could actually get something done that isn't Neely and Joe Biden-esque. It's not neoliberal. It's like real good change.
Right.
By enforcing those things and saying you can't trust them, do all this, you have to do it our way. They are actually doing the bidding of the establishment in making sure that those things can never meet. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's the same reason that, like, you know, there are so many that, you know, there's a reason that, you know, black people in the United States by and large vote totally different, or like poor black people vote totally differently than poor white people in the United States. Like totally. And the thing is, they have so much more in common than they have. And I think people are slowly starting to realize this. And I'm convinced that at least some of the fomenting of racial tension is because those groups of people getting together, because I'm sorry, I just don't think that people in the United States are that racist. I don't think so. And I think even to the extent that they are, it's like maybe they don't have a taste for those people and stuff like that. I don't think people are sitting around, all but the most credulous of fools are sitting around, you know, especially, you know, thinking that it's like other poor people or like sort of middle class people that, like, I feel even racist people, they'll have like black people that they like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they'll have their black friend, like, I got black friends. This whole thing, like, that's the norm. Like, I mean, really for people that are like kind of racist. Yeah. So my whole thing is just like, wow. I think that, yeah, there are a lot of people who are so against centrism that are actually the ones that prevent things from ever happening.
I mean, I sent a buddy of mine, one of my best friends in the world, an article from this guy who, I'll see if I can find the article somewhere. It's not a very good article, but it's at least interesting in that the guy who wrote the article was like, look, I am not a fan of Trump. Honestly, I kind of hope he gets impeached. Wouldn't mind that. That being said, here's like 20 things that he was right about. And he just lists 20 things that he's right about. And he doesn't give enough explanation as to why he thinks he's right. But to his credit, he just says, look, I don't like him, but here's some things he got right. And my buddy was like, well, why are any of these right? And I'm like, okay, look at the third point. Doesn't it seem self-explanatory that it's a good thing that Trump finally brought up the issue of America paying too much to NATO and other countries not pulling their weight? Isn't that a good thing? Like, and he's just like, well, yeah, I mean, but, you know, and I'm like, no, not yeah, but, you know, that's a good thing. Like, you know, Trump also nailed it on China.
That is being borne out so much. And how much are we talking about open borders and stuff right now, too? It's like, do you think that would have been a good idea? Like,
oh my God, can you imagine? Like, why do you think Europe is the hotbed of the disease?
Yeah, it's because it's just pure. Yeah, totally.
Very porous borders, you know.
Very much.
But
so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those people are going to hurt us as we try to recover from this thing, because what if Trump's an asshole, which he is, and he's a thin-skinned narcissist, which he is, but
sometimes you need someone like that.
Yeah, true. And also, what if he says something that's right and that actually would help us get out of this situation? Then all of the Democrats in the country are going to do the exact opposite and tank us even fucking further. And dude, it's madness, man. I mean, you can't run a country that way. I mean, to their credit, at least Newsom and Cuomo have praised Trump for doing a good job. Whitmer in Michigan is having a shit show of a situation going on over there, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. We need more. You know, we need more adults in the room, and it's at least a breath of fresh air to see Newsom and Cuomo talk to Trump and actually get along with him, even while they're, railing against him publicly.
Yeah, I wonder how much of it is. I wonder if one of them is gonna vie to take Biden's spot.
I almost think
Hillary would
come back.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Hold that thought. Let's pause it really quick. I need some more coffee.
Most excellent.
Check it out.
Damn,
it feels good to be a Michigan gangster. Yeah, I'm not very proud of my home state right now, but what are you gonna do? Yeah. Also weird. Michigan is getting hit super. Michigan has more cases of coronavirus than California. What? Yeah. There's something we don't know about this thing. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I want to hear your thoughts on that when you get back in here. I want to hear. Tell me about the possible conspiracy to destroy America. Basically, I find conspiracies to be fun.
Conspiracies are fun.
They also, in some cases, might be much truer than we'd like to admit.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
So, we were talking about this on the phone a little bit before. Also, I want to do a video of how many times I've touched my face during quarantine during this podcast, because I touch my face a lot. Anyway, Eric Weinstein tweeted, what did he say? He said a lot of his friends who are, powerful people in positions of power and very smart people are questioning whether or not this virus originated at that Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, conveniently. And he said they're just afraid for getting publicly shellacked, so they won't, necessarily say it publicly, which, that's something where I was talking with my brother who does think it's basically bio warfare from the Chinese, which, look, at this point, I'm not ruling that out. This is super insane. But I was talking with him a couple weeks ago, I think, and I said, well, I don't think that it was. I haven't seen the evidence, at least, so I couldn't commit to it being a virus that, was created in a lab as a weapon.
Right.
I just don't see the evidence for that, but I haven't really looked into it. But I definitely know that the Chinese are using this in a very advantageous way for them. We know that they delayed, taking care of it. They covered it up. They killed and imprisoned their doctors and scientists for trying to warn people, or they disappeared them, oh yeah, that guy just, as soon as he started sounding the alarm, we haven't seen him in weeks.
Where did that guy go? Yeah.
Wow, what a crazy guy. You know how he is, always disappearing and stuff. So, they did that shit. They lied to the world about the numbers. They lied to the world about medical supplies. They sent medical supplies to Spain, France, and Italy that didn't work. Then they lied more about their numbers and fatality rates and stuff like that. Conveniently enough, they control 40% of the world's supply lines for goods and manufactured goods and such. And they also provide a lot of ingredients for medicines and pharmaceuticals, and they have a lot of power, and they are wielding it. They're wielding it, and they're using this situation to their advantage. So, I think that it's definitely not unreasonable at all to ask the question, holy shit, did they just start a war? Maybe they knew. Maybe they knew. They have been a regime that somehow we've kind of overlooked in terms of national discussion. Before Trump brought it up and started saying what everybody at the time thought was xenophobic shit about China, we weren't really talking about it. You know, we always, yeah, it's China, you know, whatever. But no one was ever talking. Now it's like public knowledge and being discussed that they've killed millions of their own citizens, that they've imprisoned 1.2 million Muslims, that they've obviously been, you know, cracking down on their own people in Hong Kong for demanding independence. You know, I mean, we're learning about all that now. They didn't let American journalists in, you know, for a while. I'm not sure if they're still doing that. I mean, that's, you know, and now they supposedly covered up something that destroyed the rest of the world. I mean, and is probably still killing thousands of their own citizens. I mean, yeah, this very well could have just been the first shot fired. I don't know. I mean,
so you think that maybe this is like the way that warfare will look in the 21st century, or this is one way that it could look? It's going to be much more like kind of subversive and oh, sorry, I just got asked to turn down the volume. I just got to speak softer now. Did you think?
Turn on the volume. What is it, like 8 o'clock?
Well, I mean, what here it's like 8:45. Yeah, well, they got kids. They gotta put down the kids. Yes. So what I was going to say is, like, I kind of think that the way you would have wars in the 21st century, it's like, I think every paradigm that is established eventually has to break. So think of it this way. Like, right now I thought about, like, all right, so we're going into debt, and we're going further and further into debt. But then I always would think, like, yeah, but at the end of the day, we have all the guns, and we're also kind of still like a weirdly like violent people. We're definitely very warlike, and also just sort of like, I was thinking about the other day, like, if people like invaded Europe or like something like that, the weird thing is that there's that thing in the back of my head where I'm just like, oh yeah, we'd have to go fight. Like most, you know, it's just sort of like, oh, okay, it's like your duty. It's this weird thing that's like in there, and still, and what I'm thinking is, like, the Chinese, like, I believe, I've never read The Art of War, but my understanding is what's a Lao Tzu, something like that. His whole, one of the philosophies is first win, then declare war, or something like that. So you don't even say, hey, we're at war. We're at war. Yeah, no, it's like, it's not just like, and then I slap my glove at you, and we're doing. Right. No, it's like, no, you keep, and it's freaky if you think about it. But it's like, smile, be cool, be cordial, and then just slowly get the troops all into order, and then all of a sudden, checkmate.
Exactly. I mean, well, here's another, you know, God, there's just so much. I definitely think conspiracy stuff is fun, but to a certain degree, I sort of bar myself from going too far down certain rabbit holes because I get obsessed, and it's like, holy shit, there's no bottom to a lot of them, you know? And this one is, it could very well be playing out in real time. What I don't understand is why it's bad to talk about. Like, it's like, nah, I think, you know, it's like, again, it's like the fucking, I put up this status 2 weeks ago when Trump started saying China virus, it's the Chinese Wuhan virus. Like, and I put up a status saying, because I usually wake up and go to Twitter and, you know, read whoever I follow and
just get outraged for the day.
Yes, get the daily hate. And I don't even necessarily, you know, I've structured my Twitter to follow a pretty diverse array of people. So I just get, the flavors of both sides and try to synthesize it and get whatever the truth might be. It's like when people used to watch Fox and MSNBC and like, what they agree on is probably true. And that, like, to a certain degree is what I do. So I woke up and I saw a bunch of these tweets about how calling it the China flu or whatever is racist. And I'm just like, okay. So I put up a Facebook status. I'm like, do any one of my Facebook friends actually think that China virus is a racist term, or is this just a bunch of hype from the media? And it turns out a bunch of my Facebook friends thought it was very racist and that I'm very racist. And I'm just like, okay. So, like, I would not at all be surprised to find that China's part of China's propaganda wing or something, whatever. They have some fucking department over the People's Republic of Propaganda of China, like whatever their department is. These are people who are friendly with American academics and they give a bunch of money to American academies or something, whatever. We already know that shit happens. And they're putting out there, yeah, but don't you think the term China virus is a little racist? And then some American academic is like, actually, it is racist because it's multicultural, and then and then all these kids who can't think for themselves are like, it's really racist, and we live in a culture of outrage. So all of a sudden, some asshole who's doing the bidding of an evil regime has convinced half of our population that this term is racist. So while the country is plunging into complete chaos and economic ruin, China's just like, they're all just arguing about this term being racist, which is totally not. And holy fuck, didn't we just get lucky? Like,
well, apparently
we gotta be smarter than that,
Totally. And apparently in China, like they make fun of the fact that we do this all the time. That there's like, they make fun of white liberals who just freak. Yeah, they know it's like there's a biaozo? There's some name for it, and they make fun of them and they use it against us. And let's like not forget, China is the most racist country in the world.
Right.
It's literally it's an ethno state for one, and like I think everybody identifies as Han Dynasty now, but like the people who are like outside, like the Uyghur Muslims and whatever, you get totally screwed. They worship the state, and I gotta say, like when I did that week in graduate school, where it was 75% Chinese, and you ran the gamut. Chinese nationals, but there were a couple of them. Most of them, it was just, that's one of the things I kind of liked it. I was like, and you get ones that are really Americanized and ones, but there were a couple where it's like they were there for China. Yeah, and they're actually very, it's funny. They're sort of cosmopolitan too. Like it isn't. It's not like these hermit kingdom people. Like these are the children of like the elites, right? Yeah. And a lot of them, they would love to go shopping. They'll probably love to just like bone some American dude. Like they love consumerism, and they for some had these like blue eye contacts on. I liked them, but there were like a couple where it was just like I could just feel this. They were supreme. Yeah. It's been bred into them. There was really one in particular, but it was, I'd say, one or two of the 9 was one of, she was like, had a magical power in her mind, and she was there for that. Yeah.
I saw a girl from China, a Chinese national, who is now back living in China. I forget where she lives. I wouldn't know how to pronounce it anyway or where it is. But every now and then I get a message from her on Instagram, and it wasn't really it was kind of a superiority. Just like when I would point out obvious things about like, how do you feel about, being surveilled all the time? And she's just like, oh, it's actually really not that bad. Like, it's pretty smart for like social tracking and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? How? That is mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing, you know? And like you're just completely brainwashed. Like that's brainwashing to the end. And that's what I love about America, and I guess the free world or the West or whatever you want to call it, is yes, there is a lot of skepticism to the point where, look, if looking at this from a third party perspective, two assholes on phones being like, it's all a conspiracy, man. Like, don't trust anything. Like, yeah, okay, there's some silliness there, obviously, but we're not just saying, well, the government said it, so it must be true. It's like, that's so stupid. And you're not even praising a god. You're praising a human created thing. Like, I get a sort of fanatical belief in God because you believe that God created the universe and is the creator of all things and is blah, blah, blah. At least you don't think people made him, and let's praise that. There's actually a parable about how you're not supposed to praise false idols. Like,
yes. And the Chinese, what they worship is the Chinese collective.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no. And the thing is, the people that come over here, and the thing is, again, I can kind of put myself in any of their shoes. I would love, and I said this to you, and I was not even joking that much when I was talking about saying bad stuff about China on social media, because I really want to go there and check it out. Like, I'm open to all sorts of things. And
right.
Even what you just said of like, yeah, it's like, well, it's really not that bad. It's good for social tracking and stuff like that. The thing is for her family, if she's over here and she's hanging out with you, and it was that girl who she was taking pictures.
Yeah.
And she had a vibe. She was very,
yeah.
She's one of the elite. She was very cute, but she's one of, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. She came to America for film school, then lived here for like 2 years, 3 years without a job. Like, she's connected. Yeah.
Yes. She's connected to the CCP, the CC. Yeah. So I'm saying for her, it makes sense because they believe they don't really have the idea of an argument standing on its own.
Right.
It's what the experts say it is. I had a Chinese professor in undergraduate school. She's one of the most, her name is Jenny Lau.
Yeah.
She's one of the foremost experts on Chinese cinema. She showed me a Chinese film from the 50s. And when I left, because I had to go apply to this internship and I had to leave early, it was the one time I saw, and I was not a fan. And her graduate students hated me. But like her graduate TAs, but she saw me get up during this Ozu film. And it was the only time in her entire class where at the end of class, she took attendance again and marked it down for it. I could see it in her body language and she hated undergraduates. She thought it was beneath her to be teaching undergraduates. And she thought only the graduate students, because it's sort of like, her graduate students, but she was very, very, she insisted on me. This is when I sort of got a sense of what the kind of the Chinese mentality, and maybe it's just her, but I don't think so. I feel it's part of the thing is she got up and proclaimed to us what the definition of art was. And it was some really, this is a thing that like, in the West,
knows what.
And this is, you froze. Sorry, you froze for a second. She knows what art is? Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, I said, she knows what art is. That's nice. Yeah.
And she's not an artist. She's an academic through and through. And one
this
of the
lady sounds awful.
She is. No, and the thing is I said, if there was something, and I said, well, what about Michael Bay? Like, it was like, where there was something in her definition where I was like, wouldn't that include someone like a Michael Bay? Because if he's able to blah, 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 I forget what it was, but she got so flustered. And then it was clear she'd never seen a Michael Bay film. But if you got out of line, and she said, no, you don't understand. We all agree that this is what art is. And I was like, who?
My blood would boil.
Dude, she had this TA. I won't, her her name. It was a silly name. I'm not gonna rip Jenny Lau, whatever. I'm not gonna say her TA was.
Yeah.
But this other TA, she was the first real social justice warrior I ever met, and this is in like 2010 or 2011. This was like proto social justice.
This is the beta version.
The beta, and she was hardcore. This is my first, and I just like was like, it was just one of those things. They tried. I did eventually get an A in the class, but I barely got it. They started once I was on their shit list.
Yeah.
The TA would talk to Jenny, and I was this troublemaker, and it was just through the luck of I did extra credit, and also just being able to. There was enough things that didn't have subjectivity in them, like for attendance and tests and all those sort of things that I was able to get through it. But she had it out for me, and what I realized was that, and this is she was one of the foremost experts on Chinese film, certainly of academics in the United States. And she, it was this thing of we're anointed, we're chosen, we've been elevated to this place, and your argument in its own right is irrelevant. It's the appeal to authority is a valid concept. In the East, and so I think that.
God is on their side.
God is on their side. And the thing is that if you're over here in the United States, if you've made it over here, they don't just let anybody in. They let people over who are loyal to the state and who are not just going to come over here and give all the secrets. I had a teacher in the graduate program that I went to last year in September, and she was this old feminist lady, like in the best sense. She reminded me of Camille Paglia. Yeah. And she said something about about the forced abortions and stuff. Like one of them would have been, she was just such a liberal, but in that old sense of it's not about cultural sensitivity. She just thought it was abhorrent that you could force women to have abortions. And she said it, all the Chinese, they said, no, you just have to pay a fine. Is that they got really,
they get defensive.
You were insulting their religion.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
That's well. This is in a way, it is good that this. Maybe this is. Hold on. Wait for the fucking stampede outside, dude.
Somebody's walking around outside.
Yeah. Oh man, somebody's walking around. Better call the cops. I can't believe fucking piece of shit Mayor Garcetti is incentivizing people to snitch on people violating the orders. Anyway, it's the appeal to authority, the appeal to a mob rule, the appeal to majority, all that crap. It's antithetical to everything that Americans stand for. This is what I was saying. And in a sense, maybe it's good that this happened to the world, because now we're really seeing. It's like, no, this is why ideology and philosophy matters, because otherwise you could be living in a situation like that one in China, or if your ideology isn't strong enough, if your philosophy isn't strong enough in America, this could happen. This is what's happening because we are not united around the central philosophy that we used to be united around, which is, freedom and liberty, basically. I mean, we've gotten it all muddled. We've kind of fucked it up, but it's also exposing communism for what it is. And so, look, when I was younger, 4 years ago, when I was on the Bernie Sanders train during the primaries in 2016, some cat's making noise. I would hear old people be like, he's a socialist. And I'd be like, so what? Socialism's not that bad. And now I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Socialism is murderous, apparently. Communism is really no bueno. It's interesting to just see. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, man, I kind of China as if they're like fucking Nazi Germany. I mean, they're straight up evil. They're straight up evil, And they absolutely have ambitions to expand their power. That's what they're doing right now. It doesn't matter if they created the virus to unleash on the world for warfare. It's how they're weaponizing it for sure. Like, so, I mean, obviously I'm not somebody that anyone's going to turn to for answers on any of this shit, but just the way that I speculate, I'm just like, I find it so, it makes me cringe and it upsets me deeply when people are so blindly faithful to something. And especially, like I said, it pisses me off enough when people are blindly faithful to God, because yeah, whatever, whether or not God is real, he's not talking to you right now. So, you know, you're going to have to do some thinking on your own. And when I ask you a question like, why weren't the dinosaurs in the Bible? And you think that God spoke through people to write the Bible, you can't just say, well, God's ways are something limited. And it's like, no, that's a real question. Why aren't they in there? Like, you can't appeal to authority when I'm questioning the authority. Like, and that's what's weird is when you question with that girl that I dated, I said the same thing. I'm like, man, yeah, but you know, they used to have like a one-child policy. And she's like, oh, no, it wasn't. You know, it's like she started like defending it irrationally. And it's like, it's not bad for the government to tell you how many kids you can have and kill them if you have more. That's not bad. And by the way, you can't hide because there's cameras everywhere constantly watching you. I mean, fucking Christ. Look, I know we're surveilled in the United States too, but at least we're angry about it. Like,
right. Wait, what would you say to, what if for this era, they actually wind up being right in as much as their society winds up being more stable and controlled and works better? So let me I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, but I think part of what we're seeing right now is some of the scandals that have happened, like let's say, okay, Epstein and all this sort of stuff, and how the NSA has been weaponized and all of this is, I think that we had this idea of the free press and all of that. And I think that for a long time, a lot of it, have you heard Eric Weinstein's idea of the DISC? The discrete idea suppression complex?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit. I don't know much about it, but yeah.
So I think it's something like, and this is sort of playing on like kind of Slavoj Žižek stuff instead, as well as I feel like probably for a long time, we would have these sort of institutions that worked on the behalf of the powerful. And so, I mean, there was more organic, like there was more freedom in it, obviously, than elsewhere, but that ultimately still were able to be controlled by the intelligence agencies, by large businesses, by the government, and so on, using various sorts of means. Like, for example, something like Jeffrey Epstein. There were probably all sorts of situations where people, if you want to be on the inside, you have to be culpable in some sort of violence. You have to, it's like a mob type thing. It's like a cult sort of thing. Like once you have the blood on your hands, you can be trusted. There are a lot of different, there are a lot of different sorts of ways that you could actually control things. And in an era before the internet, if there was only a handful of institutions that people really took seriously, and I've even heard Hillary say this, it was easier to control things back then. It's just like, if you had,
fuck you, bitch.
right, if you could elevate people using the power of your office, or if you could elevate some people and push other people down, you could actually have the society be controlled enough to, while there was this illusion of the free press and all of that, and there was still the First Amendment, but there were all these kind of controls in place to make sure that at the end of the day, what is considered true and what is conspiracy theory and stuff like that is still sort of serving the powers that be. I think that maybe we've always had some version of that, but it's only now with the internet where when with YouTube and the alternative influence Netflix, whatever the sort of stuff is in these small little publications, I think more than ever, there's an intense amount of pressure on the institutions to prop up the powers that be, the authorities that be, and to squelch dissent. It's just that before, a lot of these people that would get squelched, you would never hear about it.
Oh,
you
exactly.
know about it. Yeah.
Yep.
And now we just know about it. And I also wonder, if a lot of what's happening now, maybe even with this crisis, if I put my conspiracy hat on, is actually a way of, I think that for the past, certainly the past 5 years, really for 10 or 15 or 20 really, I think that we've been trying to close our society back down into something that can be more easily managed. Because right now, on some level, there is something to the idea of just keeping order in control has its advantages. And I think that instead of seeing the Chinese society open in terms of bringing markets over there and stuff like that, maybe there's instead going to be an attempt to try to make this still more of a top-down, to control the internet, to use our own special ways of controlling things. Because right now, the powers that be, especially after the election of Trump, they must be terrified. And with everything that happened with Jeffrey Epstein, and nobody believes it, nobody trusts them, wouldn't it make sense to find some excuse to go for another power grab?
Yes.
So go on, because you were kind of talking about it. You know, like, what do you think about that?
I mean, I've talked about it in terms of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube in particular. I mean, trend was, I think, already starting. I mean, social media made everybody a journalist, everybody a photographer, everybody a pundit, which opened up the door for people who were either really good at it or entertaining to gain large followings that, frankly, more people watch than CNN. I mean, no one watches any of that shit. It's like you were saying before, it's just these people have access to the most elite circles of society globally. So, they're propped up in all different kinds of ways, But yeah, I think you've seen the gradual, it's just a gradual taking back of the reins. It's feeble and it's obvious, to anybody who's paying attention. But yeah, I think that's as far as social media goes. I mean, you can see they demonetized Crowder. They kicked Gavin McInnes off of the internet in general. They, took Alex Jones down. It's like, yeah, I don't care though if you think any of these people are offensive. You're a platform, not a publisher. Fuck you. They started recommending. They said, we're going to start recommending verified content, which just means our fucking friends, like, who happen to be all of the old media outlets. Look at that. What a coincidence. It's strange that these crappily made tone-deaf videos from NBC News are getting significantly less views than the ones I would actually like to watch, and you're still not recommending those ones. Wouldn't the verified content be the stuff that's actually being viewed? But anyway, so yeah, I mean, for conspiracy land, I don't know. I would expect that there's some corollary. There was the Epstein story was a botch job. Is a joke, a complete joke. I mean, no one believed that one, and they desperately tried to just get that one out of the news as quickly as possible. And honestly, for being a top-level pedophile who probably could have exposed some of the world's most powerful people, yeah, it left the news really fast, and he died really fast, conveniently. Killed himself, definitely. Killed himself for the guilt and the shame.
What are we, conspiracy theorists? Of course he killed himself.
Come on, he killed himself with a flimsy paper towel and a pencil or something, whatever the hell they said, in a maximum security prison with cameras on him at all times. And
and the videotape just disappeared.
we just didn't have it. Like, man, how bold do you have to be to make that kind of a lie to the public? Just like, it happens all the time. The video disappears for 20 seconds. Did the video disappear the entire time he was dead? Like, he must have been lying there for a while after he killed himself. Is there no video of any of this?
No. So, I think there were 2 cameras too. 2 cameras failed.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. And it's like, you don't want to say anything until you know, but in that case, it's like everybody knows the story is bullshit. No one knows what the truth is, but everybody knows the one they told us is bullshit. Anyway, So I would imagine there's a corollary between controlling these narratives, taking back some of the reins of power, and cracking down for a little bit more government control. I mean, I think we're in the perfect circumstance now. Again, I don't think it's a conspiracy on the level of, oh man, they shut down the economy to take back power, man. But there were definitely people who wanted more powers, who could view this as a vacuum for them to fill. And how many times have we given governments more powers and then governments just voluntarily went, we're not exercising that power anymore? It's like, right. Remember that. They already have the power to do this shit. They're already ticketing people for just going on walks. What makes you think they're going to give up any of that?
Right.
So, that's kind of crazy talk. And I don't necessarily believe that, but the possibility is there. And I hate when people just dismiss it as conspiratorial or something, because it's like, no, these forces are in place, what you were saying before about China maybe doing better because there's such a top-down control kind of thing. No, I think they're just going to forcibly kill millions of their citizens, and, maybe they'll have a day in the sun, but the Soviet Union fell, Nazi Germany fell. Authoritarianism does not bode well. I think we have a much better chance in a free market system, and I think we're threatening to throw that away because we're afraid of old people dying, old fucking sick people. It's like, and then you see 2 stories come out in the news. Well, a 12-year-old died yesterday. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, statistics, guys. If one 12-year-old dies and 40,000 old people die, you can safely say 12-year-olds are not really at risk of dying.
Right.
I'm sorry. And yes, it's tragic that people are dying. Yes, I would like to prevent as much death as possible. But I've asked this to a couple people, and no one can really give me a number. How many people have to die for you to think it's justified to shut down the entire nation's economy, force people to not work, force people to not make money, everybody give up their fucking savings and jobs? There's not going to be jobs to come back to. How many people have to die for you to think that that's a proper solution? And for me, I'm like, a lot more than the current numbers. The projections are now like 60,000 in America. It's like, yes, that is tragic, I guess. I don't even know if that's tragic. That seems like life. Part of life is dying, guys. Like, you can't run from dying forever.
Right. I think that one thing that I was just reminded of as we're talking is, well, a couple things. First, the way that the Jeffrey Epstein thing was handled, and the fact that if you have any sort of fingers into not the legacy media, you can see it's almost like there's this illusion, this show that's being put on, that if you stand right on this dot that's placed to you on the floor, you can see all the illusions taking place. And you're like, clearly that's a flying dinosaur, and clearly that's this and that. But as soon as you take a few steps to the right or a few steps to the left, you're sort of like, hey, I see the strings on that thing. It's actually not even that dinosaur kind of looks like bullshit. There's so often where I'm sort of like, hey, person who's standing on the dock, come here, look at this. They're like, no, you're bad, bad.
Right.
No. And then and then the people, like, it's like they need, I think on some level people need their whole entire, maybe it's a good thing, because their whole entire lives just to them will be like a lie. if they look at it. I think there are people who maybe are temperamentally sort of like, I've already sort of accepted the tragedy of a lot of things.
Exactly. Dude, but it's not depressing, man. When people are like, because I've said that, I probably talk to 2 or 3 people on the phone a day now, which is probably good. It's about as much as I can handle. And just seeing how everybody's doing and whatever, or they call me or whatever. But, I say to a lot of people, like the thing I just said to you, like death is a part of life. Like you can't run away from it forever. You're going to die. It's not a question. You can't bury your head in the fucking sand and wait for it to pass. It is going to happen. So accepting the tragedy of certain things, it sounds to some people like it's depressing, but it's not. This is a wisdom that is ancient. It's life is suffering. That's what that means. Or, what's that? What is it? The shepherd's prayer? Grant me the wisdom to understand, to accept the things I can't understand, the ability to change the things I can, and the wisdom to
know the difference,
or whatever.
That's what they said. That's what they say in AA meetings.
Yeah, that's funny. Because fuck AA. But it's one of those things where, again, it's like this is a nightmare playing out in real life. And the people who are saying you got to understand, this is a health problem, not an economics problem. It's like, why would those two things be unrelated? Why can't we talk about both? It's not as if we can just press the pause button on the world. That is not how it works. You can't just say, okay, guys, you can't go to work for 2 months, but when everything's good, you can come back and we'll be okay. It's like, no, those people don't have enough money to keep going for 2 months. You don't get it. Like, even me, man, I'm a musician and I'm not going to be able to play anywhere for a year. And fucking, because even when they reopen the economy, what are they just going to let venues go on? Or, and beyond that, I work at a bar, when this thing started and it was like, hey, 2 weeks inside, it was like, oh shit, well, that's going to suck, but 2 weeks, and then 3 days later, they're like, yeah, no, it'll be till the end of the month. We're like, okay, well, that's unnecessary to make that call right now. And then today we learn it's going to be till May 15th. That'll be 3 months in a fucking home.
I predict that probably even in the next couple of weeks, but certainly if they extend it again, I don't think they'll be able to. People will start to rebel.
Oh,
people will start to revolt. Honestly, if I was in LA, if they extended past then, I would start going outside.
I'm going to. I mean, I'm just straight up.
Arrest me.
Yeah, exactly.
Arrest me.
Arrest me. What are you going to fucking do? You've already let prisoners out of prison for some fucked off reason. I don't understand the logic there. They're like, yeah, we don't want to get them too crowded. The prisoners, what if they get COVID? It's like, well, then they get COVID and
it sounds
die,
like it sounds like somebody's pre-existing agenda.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think what are the odds that all of this is? I mean, there's got to be something else going on. Like, I don't know.
Seem like there is?
Now I'm starting to. It never really made sense to me. It was really because I don't put anything past our media. When I saw the Italians locking down, and I was like, well, what are the odds that it's everybody doing it? I was like, could you get everybody in line like that? Maybe, but like, I was like, probably not.
I don't think it's a New World Order kind of thing or anything like that. But I think
people take advantage of situations that present themselves.
That's exactly what I was going to say. As the situation develops and as we expose these vulnerabilities, that's why I kept saying, it's again classic misdirection. It's a magician going like this with his hand and he's switching around the cards over here, but you're not watching. You're watching what's happening over here with the virus, and you're not paying attention to these people who are probably in plain daylight at this point, because fucking no one's allowed outside, fuck the world up, you know? And I mean, you can't, like, tell me how this makes any goddamn sense. If, let's say, so California did the lockdown until whatever the original date was, March 19th, March 31st, whatever the fuck.
Wow.
Yeah, they did that back on March 16th, I think, is when we started the quarantine. And they said, 2 weeks, you know. And then 3 days later, they're like, actually, April 9th. And we're like, and I was like one of the only people I know who's just like, why would they extend it now? Why wouldn't we wait until the 27th at very least? I mean, why give it a couple days? Like, it's April 10th and we're saying, no, we need to go till May 15th. It's like, dude, you can't keep doing that because the laws keep getting more draconian. People who are less fortunate than me are already, I don't know what they're doing, because it's not like these government checks are just flooding in. It's like dude, you know, people who are on unemployment, like if you had no money saved up and you were literally living paycheck to paycheck, what the fuck are you doing right now? The longer this goes, the more likely riots happen. Yeah. Yeah.
That's me right now. I just got,
that sucks.
I got lucky. Dude, if it wasn't for the unemployment thing that was happening, like I haven't gotten any money and I'm here till the end of the month, but like, dude, I got out of LA just in time.
Oh my God. Yeah. Seriously.
Like less than a week after I left. Dude, can you imagine like what would I have done? Like, I was out there, dude. I was just fucking out there. Like, what are you doing? Also, I did get sick at one point. Part of me is like, I wonder how many of us have gotten this and not even known it. It's unlikely, but like,
I don't know if it's that unlikely. I don't know. I mean, if this thing has been in China since November of last year, it's not like all of a sudden we just had a bunch of international travelers. I mean, that's been the trend for years. So it wouldn't be shocking to me at all that a fuck ton of people already got it and had something that was sort of flu-y.
That's what I had.
And yeah, I mean, I had something 2 or 3 weeks ago that was not severe, but there was a slight respiratory something. It's just like breathing. I'm breathing a little more shallow, but it was something that where like for a couple days that happened. And I was like, okay, well, you know, if this gets worse, it was one of those things. It was so mild that I was like, okay, if this gets worse, then time to go to the hospital, you know, but it didn't. And it went away. And it's like, okay, was that it? My brother said he had something like the flu for like a week and a half and his breathing was bad. And it's like, okay, did he have it? Like, I'm sorry. This is full scale fucking madness. This is not even close to killing as many people as the Spanish flu did. And the entire world did not lock down for that. Just certain cities did, you know? And
I heard
maybe they should. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard Sam Harris say, this is something that stuck with me. I heard him say this about maybe 8 months ago. Sam is one of these guys who, it's obvious to me Sam's never, I don't think he's ever experienced any kind of real tragedy in his life. I don't think he knows.
I'm not sure.
I don't think he has. I think he's had I think his mom was on the Golden Girls. His mom, yeah. No, he comes from and none of that. That says nothing about. I'm a big fan of Sam Harris.
Right.
But it's like sometimes I think he puts so much stock. I don't think he even knows what it's like. He doesn't. He's so out of touch with. He's such a typical liberal type guy. Like I don't think he knows anything about what middle America is like. I don't think he knows really anything in practice about being religious or religious people or anything. He really has. It's funny. People, you know, call him, Glenn Greenwald calls him names and stuff like that. On some level, he kind of does. I don't think you can get away from being a bigot of some kind. Like, of course he looks down on people who believe, he says it openly, who are religious and stuff like that. I mean, if you think you're just dumb, like, but I mean, by that standard, I guess we're all bigots, right? If you just look down,
we all have prejudices. That's
we all have prejudices, and he gets so upset about it. And he thinks it's all in bad faith or whatever. Like, but and maybe it is. But like, I heard him say something, and I wonder if this sort of thing is because he's I think he's like the edge of the accepted mainstream or the fringe. He's sort of one of those in between people where he's sort of like accepted in mainstream, but he's also sort of people on the YouTube world like him. But he said, he said there's something about, he said democracy has a lot of problems because you get sort of these like crazy people that don't know what they're talking about, and they're starting to harm the country a lot. Which he said it in a way that it was just clear he was talking about all those rubes in the middle, like everybody that he was talking about Trump voters. Right. The thing is that I think there is a certain strain of people now, a lot of them, who are actively like want, now that democracy is given us someone like Trump, who I actually think there are definitely people who want him for all the wrong reasons. But as a sort of force, he's actually exposing a lot of our flaws, and I've said this many times, in ways where it kind of shows where the institutional pressure points are and how we can fix them, like what needs to happen. He's exposing things that need to be exposed. That's the way I look at it. But the thing is that I think that there's a certain amount of people who will never be able to see it that way. And it's a threat to their power. It's a threat to their sensibilities. It's a threat to their everything. And they'll believe whatever is advantageous, and that in order to make sure that their class and their everything is shut down. If that means, if you believe that democracy is that dangerous, and these rubes, they just don't understand it, we're re-inculcating the kind of aristocratic thought that every strata of elites have always had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think maybe they're just trying to find the best way in order to reassert that control.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to that. That's kind of why I'm like, that's why I brought up like the YouTube, the Facebook, the Twitter stuff, because you can see what is being done very clearly if you follow that at all. You can see that the old bastions of power have gotten their grubby paws on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media, made sure, no, you do things our way, which it's like YouTube has become shitty, unfortunately, because of that.
Right. Well, you notice that I used to get organic reach.
Yeah, you get no organic reach now.
None.
No, YouTube was a cool place because exactly, people could, it's just, are you popular? That's it. That's the algorithm, damn, that was cool. It gave people a shot, now there's absolutely, there's a 0% chance that new people are going to discover you on YouTube. I mean, maybe you, because you have 3.5K. So I don't know, but Tim Pool talks about it all the time. He's got 700,000 followers, and he's like, they don't recommend my content anymore. It's bizarre, man. You used to like watch a Tim Pool video, and up next would be a fucking Tim Pool video. Duh. Now up next is like MSNBC's chat show about bullshit, and it's like, like, oh great, that was what I wanted to watch. Obviously, since I clicked on Tim Pool, you can tell I'm a fan of MSNBC. Like, you're not even recommending shit to me that I like. They're trying to force it down your throat. Like, they're just like, the more we put it in front of them, the more they watch it. It's like, dude, never. Dude, I've only ever watched, it's hilarious how bad old media is at YouTube and social media. It's hilarious how bad they are. They innovate nothing. They just follow trends and they do it poorly. But so I think there's a connection between that and whoever the old elites are, maybe the anti-Trump elites, the Hillary Clintons of the world, trying to seize back some power, because I think they can feel it slipping. They can feel their grip slipping, and good. No one fucking likes you guys. Get out of here. Like, you know, and so part of me thinks that, like I said, you know, it always seems to be the Democratic governors who are imposing these draconian laws. And even when I argue with friends, and I have a very diverse array of friends, especially online, people from the left and the right. It is never people from the right who give me shit for posts on the potential for a tyranny. It is always people from the left who, whenever I post something about like, oh, they're ticketing people again, someone was literally like, well, I don't trust people to do the right thing. I'm like, and that's the fucking kicker. You don't trust people to do the right thing, so you want government to make it illegal for them to do the wrong thing? Who runs government, out of curiosity? Oh, right, people who you don't trust to do the right thing. Duh. That's the reason we put checks and balances in the first place, because the founders knew that the people who go into government are ambitious, crazy people who, and the potential for taking it over is so obvious and easy. And that's why it's good to have a limited government, because then even if the wrong person gets their hands on it, they can't do that much with it. But we're seeing how ridiculously powerful our government is right now, which I'm not comfortable with it at all. It's hilarious. It's hilarious to me that it's the liberals who are, they're just fine. You know, we got to make sure people abide by the social distance. No, we don't. Fuck you. If you try to make me stay inside for any longer, I'm just gonna leave, and you can take me to jail if you want. That's fine. Good luck.
And that's gonna happen. If I think they must know. Like, do you know where you are, man? Like, really? And like, God bless America for that. I mean, it makes it very difficult at times. But the thing is that people in America, by the way, we're all doing it. The thing is, when it's in time of crisis, we do snap together pretty well. We really do.
Yeah.
But it's like, even if people are bitching about it, it's like you and I, we're both sitting inside our things. I'm under quarantine, whatever, man.
Right.
Like I go to the store probably more than I should, but like
I don't give a fuck, dude. Yeah. Oh, don't go to the store. How about go fuck yourself? I need to eat.
Exactly. So it's just
this thing's flying around, killing everyone. I've been to the grocery store several times since it started. I have no trace of corona. I live in one of the most international cities on planet Earth with an extremely large population. I work in bars. I do drugs and have threesomes, and I play music, loud music to sweaty crowds of people. And I haven't gotten coronavirus. Really. Really. Fascinating, guys. Fascinating. Like, dude, again, at a certain point, like, yeah, God, man. And people are like, well, you wouldn't be saying all this stuff if your grandma was in the hospital. I'd be like, yes, I would. My grandma is old. She's going to die. You know,
it says an awful lot that, like, this is the trajectory of the baby boomers.
Yeah.
They're born, and their parents like made such like sacrifices to make like everything like rad and like and whatever, and their first thing is they rebel and say screw the system and blah 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 blah, and let's like do drugs and make admittedly pretty awesome music and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
they make like most of our favorite stuff, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, they get older and they're like, you know what, this capitalism stuff is not that bad. They sell out, then they sell out more. Then not only after all of their, hey man, like, now they're literally, throughout the last 25 years in particular, they've done everything to advantage their generation to continue to live. They are the most privileged generation of human beings ever.
Yeah.
And we would have been, because we acted like them, but we're kind of needing to like learn how to fight for ourselves. Like we're going to be the worst. I think we're going to be better because we have to be. But like now, even in their waning years, after they've like, they're literally like, you can't, the baby boomers who are running all of the institutions and all of the colleges and stuff like that are still in order to pay their administrative fees and stuff like that, indebting an entire generation.
Yep.
They still have this magical thinking. You know why they can have this magical thinking about the promise of America and everything will work out? Is because things have always worked out for them, because their parents sacrificed everything for them, and now they're making sure that their children sacrifice everything for them so that they can continue to live in their little fantasy until they die.
Yeah.
And now in their waning years, they are still willing to guilt everybody to shutting down the entire economy so that they can get the last little bit out of life and they don't get sick, and that all of the people that are out there just get. It is the most selfish bullshit generation.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's a really good point.
This is the boomeriest boomer move ever. Like,
that is so boomer. That is so fucking boomer. Like, look, yeah, thanks for what you did in terms of making the music and blah, blah, blah. Now, please shut the fuck up. I mean, look, there's a lot to learn from old people who have seen a lot and are wise and blah, 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 blah. But, yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. You're willing to fuck over everybody else just so you can get a couple more days in your house watching reruns of shows from back in the glory days. Like, fuck off, dude. Like, you're
right. And you're
old. You're old.
Right. And literally, and even the way fucking like Obama, we were talking about it at the beginning, the Obamacare is structured. It's literally so that the young people who are just trying to get things going, who aren't even making that much money. It's not like the subsidy stops at $70,000. It stops right as soon as you have like any money at all to do anything. Yeah. Those people are all subsidizing the old people who all get healthcare for free. They've gotten everything handed to them always.
Yeah.
And they have no sense of self-sacrifice.
That was Josh.
I was Josh. Oh yeah, I need to talk to him. He should, next time we do this, we should have Josh on.
Oh yeah.
And we gotta start like watching more like videos and stuff every time I like get on eventually, because we don't do it that often. And it's like, we don't talk that. Yeah. Well, this is what we talk about anyways. But it's like, then it's sort of like, if you can put on videos, like, because a lot of my old favorite like shows and stuff, they would show video. You ever listen to radio shows and stuff where they would like watch YouTube videos and shit?
Yeah. I mean, I mostly do it all on YouTube, but I'm actively looking for other ways to consume information because YouTube is pissing me off.
It is, and I don't know. It's been very. I'm actually having some. I'm wondering how much to say, because I've been swimming in these waters for long enough now that like. I think I figured kind of some things out. There's a lot of things that I think you could get. I wonder how much trouble you can get in just for talking about them. Like, if you really, will there be, like, what kinds of pressures will be applied? And the thing is, like, I don't know. Never mind. I don't know. It's a lot of different.
I mean, it's yeah. I don't know who or what forces are conspiring to control things, but yeah, it's funny. It's the pressures to like not talk about things. I'm sorry, but that is the least American thing ever. It reminds me of McCarthyism, which came from the right. They were arresting people for being communists or for having a communist friend or for, one time at dinner saying the word communism. It's like, yeah, that was anti-American, and now they're doing the same thing, but it's coming from the other direction. And, fuck you, we can't talk about what we want to talk about. Fuck your community guidelines. Your community guidelines are garbage anyway. Like, it's just squashing conversation and making it so that, No. It's like, we're just reminding you who fucking controls you. We're reminding you who's in charge here, you know? And I think to a certain degree, that's part of what we're seeing with this. The governor of Michigan just fucking said, you can't buy seeds to garden with anymore. Gardening is no good. It's like, what are you? It's the same thing with, like, you know, you're going to get a fine for not wearing a mask when you go to the grocery store. You're going to get a ticket for going on a walk by yourself. Like, these are not solutions to a problem. They're a flex from your overlords, you know, to remind you, you know, who's in charge. You know, that's all of these things just gross me out. And, you know, during peacetime, I guess, or when we're not in a fucking pandemic or whatever the hell this is, you know, we take that all for granted. And now that we are, it's just real time. Your rights are being stripped, and it's fucking crazy, you know. And when a place like YouTube or Twitter does it, the argument is, well, they're private, you know, platforms. They can do what they want. I actually tend to disagree with that. I think if you're a platform, no, you can't do that. If you're a publisher, sure, you can do that. Like, but you need to decide which one you are. And YouTube is ostensibly a platform, so they need to stop. Somebody needs to take some kind of action, but nobody is. And of course, now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and their shit's just going to keep getting worse. Social media is going to keep getting worse. There's like things that you can't say on Twitter. Like, even if you mention something about, there was some shit about something related to COVID. If you mentioned it, they would delete your tweets. It's just like, nah, something weird is going on here. Something weird is going on.
It is. And the thing is like, I heard oftentimes a lot of what's decided as to be okay to talk about what's true and not true and stuff like that, it's actually just what the institutional narrative is. It's actually not what's true and what isn't true.
Gated institutional narrative.
Gated institute.
Once again.
Yeah. He's the man. I have a feeling that this is, I mean, we can keep talking. I should probably just at least stop recording this probably right about now. What do you think? Unless do you got any?
Up to you. I gotta pee.
You gotta pee? All right, I'm gonna stop this and we'll pee. So, do you want to plug anything or whatever?
Nah, we're doing. Josh and I started a new podcast called FakeCast for Fake News Records. It's a music podcast, but it's also me and Josh. So it's bizarre. So we're putting up the second episode tomorrow, maybe something like that. We play Fuck, Marry, Kill with our local friends' songs. So that's pretty fun.
Oh, that's fun. That's very good. That sounds great.
So that's FakeCast from Fake News Records.
Cool. I'll put a link down there. Do you have we should definitely have Josh on next time. I don't
for
think
sure.
we've ever done that. I don't know why, because I've spoken with Josh about doing that, and it just hasn't happened yet. But
we also, I think we have to pay like some monthly thing to get this to go for longer than 40 minutes with
three people.
Yeah, if it's only $15, then whatever.
It's true, and I also think there might be other ways of doing it, because I actually have the ability to screen capture all of this. I guess the only thing is that if I do screen capture, it's like, I think this thing, Zoom has compression on it, so it's like a more manageable file size, as opposed to if it's just like, it's 197 gigabytes. Like,
yeah, right.
Anyways,
I mean, Zoom seems really nice, so I don't know.
No, I would totally be.
Here's my question: can't you just call them back after 40 minutes and then talk for another 40 minutes, or do they like have a safeguard against that? Or
what if you just get another person to start the meeting? Or we should try it. We should try it. We should just try it.
I'm down.
But all right. Well, shit, dude. Like, yeah, I'm gonna come back. Dude, I feel California, its pull on me. Like, I feel like I'm just I'm not. That's the big show. I've been wanting to be back in LA, and not just back in LA in some stupid motel. Like I want to be living. I want to be back in LA.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Well, not much to see now, but maybe in a few months.
Yeah, exactly. In a few months, I just really need to. Dude, there are so many. Dude, it gets so expensive to, like, the less money you have. Once you start getting into negative money, you start getting more and more into negative money just because you have no money. It's
nothing. It's just like, fuck it. Yeah.
It's just like I'm just going below zero more and more. I know I'll get out of it. It's just how long it will take, man. It's just
you'll get out of it.
Yeah. It'll take a minute. Plus, it's just like, can you imagine being really just like, I have like innate capabilities that I can eventually use. You know what I'm saying? To dig myself out. What if you didn't have any of those things? I would be so enraged. Can you imagine? Like, I'm angry enough as it is. Can you imagine?
We're about to find out how all of those people act under stress. There's a lot of those people. Dude. I read a statistic that before the pandemic, that was something like 40% of Americans couldn't handle a $400 emergency $400 emergency, which I'm just like, 40%. All right, so
let's take a $5,000 emergency like this,
dude.
At least.
I mean, yeah. How much does a couple months without work cost people? Like, yeah. So, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, there could be. I don't know. I could go some different ways with that, but.
Yeah. All right, should we sign up, or are we gonna keep going?
Well, maybe I'll just stop, and maybe we could. I don't. It's kind of weird. I'll just stop. All right, everybody. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy quarantine.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh, I just stopped. Did I stop? Wait, no, I got to stop that.